I pray that I might speak to you this morning in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. I haven't been to a lot of music concerts in my lifetime. I think the first one I ever went to was Tom Cochrane and Kim Mitchell performing in the big metropolis of Sault Ste. Marie. And the only songs I actually remember from that show, or that I actually recognized, was Patio Lanterns by Kim Mitchell and Life is a Highway by Tom Cochrane. Didn't know any of their other stuff. So I haven't been to a lot of concerts. A few years ago, I took Ellie, my daughter, to her very first concert, and we saw Adele perform. And that was an absolutely amazing experience. But I think the one that I remember the most was going to see the Irish rock band U2 at the Rogers Centre in Toronto. I absolutely love that concert, and obviously a lot of other people really like the band U2 as well, because we went to a concert at the Rogers Centre on day one of day two of selling out the Skydome where the Blue Jays play to see them. And I think the reason why U2 is a band that really resonates with me is because it has provided the soundtrack to my life. There are a few bands in every generation, I think, that if we think about who they are in our own lives, that there are bands that have provided the background music to the life that we have lived. And for me, it's U2, it's Tragically Hip, it's bands like that. And for U2, if I had to pick one song, that has always resonated with me, or maybe even a song that has haunted me a little bit, it would be one that begins with these words. I have climbed the highest mountains, I have run through the fields, but I still have not found what I'm looking for. Have you found what you're looking for? Because so much of life is spent searching for something. For a sense of belonging. For connection. For safety and security. Searching for purpose, searching for meaning in our lives. Searching for acceptance or affirmation. Looking for forgiveness. Looking for peace, or for love, or for joy, or for hope. I have climbed the highest mountains. I have run through the fields. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Have you found what it is you are looking for? And again, our whole lives are spent looking for something. From the moment we're born, we look, whether we're conscious of it or not at that age, we look to feel safe, to feel loved. We look to have our most basic needs met and provided for, to be fed and to be cared for. As we grow, we begin to look for a place of belonging. We look for a social group and a place in this world where we feel like we fit in, that we're connected to. Right now, my kids are at that difficult stage of life where they are beginning to have to think about what it is they want to do with their lives. Ellie is only in grade 10, but in the middle of high school, you have to start knowing what it is you think you might want to do with your life, because you have to gear the courses you take around that. And so they're at that stage where they're looking and they're reflecting on what will they go to school for, what will their careers be, what will their ultimate purpose in this world be. At every stage of life, we are looking for something. And sometimes we lose our way in that search. Sometimes we get lost in our searching. There are times when we take some wrong turns along the way. There are some times when we actually forget what it is that we are really and truly looking for in our lives. And sometimes I think we look for easy substitutes to fill in for what we are actually looking for. We look for easy substitutes in a vain attempt to fill that void of what our hearts are longing for. And again, sometimes we just don't even have a sense. We know we're looking, but we don't even have a sense of what it is we're looking for. We know that we're looking for something. We know that something is missing in our lives. We know that something's not quite right in the life that we are living. And yet we can't put our finger on it. We don't really know what it is. And it can be utterly exhausting to keep on climbing and to keep on running in order to keep looking for what we are ultimately longing for. This is what today's gospel is ultimately about. John the Baptist, we heard about it last week when we celebrated the baptism of Jesus. And for whatever reason, we hear about John the Baptist again this week on the second Sunday of Epiphany. John the Baptist, he knew exactly what he was looking for. Or to be more precise, he knew exactly who he was looking for in his life. He was looking for the Messiah. He was looking for Jesus. He was looking for the one he and everyone else had been promised was coming. He was looking for the one that was promised was coming to show them the way to live the most abundant life we could possibly live. He was looking for the one who was going to come to show us how to live the life that God has created each one of us to live. He was looking for the one that he was sent to prepare the way for. And John had been told by God. Don't know how it came to John. But John had been told by God how he would find the one he was looking for. God said to John, "He on whom you see the Spirit descend and remain, that's the one. That's the one you have been longing for and looking for." So God, however God did it, God helped John the Baptist find what it was and who it was that he was ultimately longing for in his life. God helped him to find whatever it was he was looking for, and God helped him to find it in the person of Jesus. And then John the Baptist, he turned around and he did the same thing for others. He helped others to discover what they were ultimately looking for. Whether they knew they were looking for it or not, he helped them to discover what they were ultimately looking for, and they were able to find it in the person of Jesus, just like John was able to find it in the person of Jesus. The day after John baptized Jesus, the day after John found what it was he was looking for in Jesus, he chose to share that good news with others. When he saw Jesus walking by, he said to absolutely anyone who would listen, he said, "This guy right here, this guy is the Lamb of God." Or in other words, this guy right here, this is the source of everything you have been looking for in your life. So 2 of John's disciples heard John saying this, and they decided to go check it out for themselves. So they started following Jesus. And when Jesus realized that these 2 guys were following him, he turned around and he asked them, "What are you looking for?" Now here's the thing, the English translation of this question that Jesus asks, it doesn't really do it justice. The original Greek could also be translated as, what is it you're seeking in your life? What do you hope to find? What is it that you ultimately need? What do you long for? What do you hope for the most? They have climbed the highest mountains. They have run through the fields. But it was not until this very moment when Jesus asked them that simple question. It wasn't until that moment that they had an encounter with the source and the answer to everything that they were looking for in their lives. And so in response to this life-changing question, those two disciples, they asked Jesus what seems like kind of an odd question. He says, what are you looking for? What are you seeking? What are you longing for? And instead of answering that question, they say to Jesus, they say, where are you staying? But again, the English doesn't do it justice. The English translation doesn't do it justice. What they are really asking in that moment, they wanted to know where Jesus dwells. They wanted to know where his Spirit abides. They want to know more than anything whether they too might be able to dwell where Jesus dwells and to let his Spirit abide in them. Because they have this sense that Jesus is what they have always been looking for. But Jesus, like a good teacher, he doesn't answer their question, does he? What Jesus does when he asks them, he simply extends an invitation to them. He says, come and see. Come and see if I really am the answer to what you're looking for in your life. Come and see if abiding with my Spirit is something that ultimately gives meaning to you. Come and see. Come and see and discover for yourselves the difference that Jesus can make in your life. So let me ask you the same question that Jesus asked Andrew and the other disciple in today's gospel. What are you looking for? What is it that you seek? What do you hope to find? What are you longing for most in your life? What do you most hope for? And might a relationship with Jesus be the answer to all of those questions? Because if what you're looking for is belonging, for connection, and for relationship, we can find and experience all of that in and through Jesus. We have been talking about baptism for the past couple of weeks. Through the waters of baptism, we find that belonging. We find that connection. We find that relationship with one another. We are united and made one in and through Jesus. And then if you're looking for purpose, if you're looking for meaning, if you're looking for acceptance and affirmation and a sense of your own worth, again, we can discover all of that in and through a relationship with Jesus. Again, in baptism, favorite part of a baptism for me. We take the oil of chrism. We mark the sign of the cross on the candidate's forehead. We mark them as Christ's own forever. They receive their true identity. We receive our true identity. We are promised that we are God's beloved child. And in baptism, we also receive our purpose in life. In baptism, we are invited into a life of loving service. We are invited into a way of life that seeks to respect the dignity of every single human being that we ever encounter. In Jesus, we discover the purpose and the meaning of our lives. If you are looking for safety, if you are looking for security, I have spent so much of my life looking for safety and security in how secure is my pension? Am I putting enough aside in RRSPs? Is my job secure enough to be able to provide for my family? If you are looking for safety, if you are looking for security in your life, that can be found only in and through a trusting relationship with Jesus. Jesus, he says to each one of us, do not worry about your life. Do not worry about what you will eat or what you will drink or what you will wear. He says, is life not so much more than food and the body more than clothes? Can any single one of you, by worrying about these things, add a single hour to your life? Jesus invites us to put our trust in him, to provide us with all that we need for today. And then when we wake up tomorrow, to put our trust in him, to provide us with what we need for that day and the next. If you are looking for forgiveness, each one of us is offered that gift of grace as we are washed clean in baptism. And if you are looking for peace, or for love, or for joy, or for hope, we just went through the Advent season. These are all gifts that are waiting to be experienced in and through a relationship with Jesus. But don't just take my word for it. Whatever it is you are looking for in your life, whatever it is you are seeking, whatever it is you are longing for or hoping for, let me extend the same invitation that Jesus offered to those two disciples. Come and see. Come and see if Jesus might just be exactly what you need, what you have been looking for. And if he is, then let's extend that invitation to others as well, so that they too might come and might discover that Jesus is indeed the one they have been looking for. Amen.